Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One. I'm Jyotsna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines. Russian drone strike in Ukraine's Odessa sparks massive fires and widespread damage, according to Ukraine State Emergency Service. Reports say flames tore through pavilions selling electronic goods and household appliances. Dozens of trucks carrying aid enter Gaza from Egypt. 6 more starvation deaths recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the hunger death toll to 175, including 93 children. In the Nimisha Priya case, the family of the victim remains adamant on a death sentence for Nimisha Priya. Brother of the deceased writes to Yemeni authorities to fix a new date for the execution. On day 4 of the gun battle between terrorists and security forces in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam, drones and helicopters deployed as the search for heavily armed terrorists continues. 2 terrorists have been neutralized so far. Wind-driven wildfire near Santa Maria in California grows to more than 49,000 acres. Massive firefighting operations on land in and via the aerial route underway.
And inaugural World Humanoid Robot Games are set to take place in Beijing from the 15th of August. Chinese robots are gearing up, practicing moves for the first of its kind event. We're going to leave you with these visuals, but don't go anywhere. More news and updates will follow on the other side. You're watching Beyond World is One. Stay tuned. All right, moving on, Hong Kong has reported its first case of chikungunya in 6 years. Heightened concerns about the potential for local transmission of the mosquito-borne virus that can cause debilitating joint pain, sometimes lasting for years. Now, according to a public health agency, the patient is a 12-year-old boy who developed fever, rash, joint pain after traveling to Foshan in Guangdong province back in July. Now, Hong Kong's health authorities believe that the boy was infected during this trip and is currently being treated in a mosquito-free environment with his household under medical surveillance. But this case is the city's first chikungunya infection since 2019. Foshan city has seen more than 6,500 people affected in the past few weeks. The outbreak there had already prompted another Chinese city to tighten up controls, reminiscent of the stringent approach from the pandemic era. Fuzhou City in Fujian province is now requiring travellers from Foshan to undergo a 14-day at-home quarantine. Meanwhile, Macau, which in July reported an imported case tied to Foshan recorded a locally transmitted case on August 1st, stoking fresh concerns of regional transmission. Well, Hong Kong's Food and Environmental Hygiene Department has since undertaken targeted mosquito control operations at the patient's residence. That includes fogging, removing stagnant water and distributing publicity leaflets to boost awareness. While the virus doesn't spread directly from person to person, the disease can still move through the community if an infected person is bitten by mosquitoes, and those mosquitoes then bite another person.
The body of the fifth and last missing miner was found yesterday during the rescue operations that was underway following a tunnel collapse that occurred on Thursday at the world's largest copper mine in Chile. The rescue operations have concluded. An overall death toll from the mine collapse now stands at 6. Chilean President Gabriel Boric expressed grief and declared a 3-day national mourning in the country in the honor of the 6 miners who died. He also said that an international audit will be commissioned to determine the causes and responsibility for the mine collapse.
The chairman of the board of Codelco and I spoke earlier, and he has just announced publicly that an international audit will be commissioned. This is essential to ensure full objectivity and to guarantee that there is no corporate shielding. It is not only about determining what happened, but also about establishing who is responsible, clearly and transparently.
The collapse occurred on 31st of July at the El Teniente, operated by Chile's state-run mining company, trapping 5 miners and killing 1 instantly. Though it is assumed that the tragedy was caused allegedly by a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, the audit is expected to provide a clear picture of what exactly happened. Operations at the El Teniente mines have been suspended since the collapse. Chile is the world's largest copper producer, responsible for nearly a quarter of global supply, with about 5.3 million tons in 2024.
At least 6 migrant workers from Odisha were killed and 8 others were injured after a granite rock fell on them at a quarry in Andhra Pradesh's Bapatla district. Now, according to the police, the incident occurred on Sunday morning when 10 to 15 workers were engaged in mining works. They also said that there was no blast or seismic activity. However, water seepage could be one of the reasons that the rock gave away, leading to the tragedy.
I am from Odisha and we were working in the quarry. This morning, around 9:30 during drilling, rock fell from above and an accident occurred, injuring people. 16 people were working there. The collector met us and talked to the injured and assured them that all assistance would be provided.
An Odisha government official said that a total of 16 workers were working at the quarry when the rock collapsed, adding that at least 8 migrant workers from Odisha sustained injuries and were undergoing treatment in various hospitals in Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu has ordered the police to register a criminal case against the quarry management.
Mining activity.
As per the instructions of CM N. Chandrababu Naidu, a criminal case has been registered against the quarry management. A comprehensive investigation will be carried out in coordination with the police and relevant departments. All of them were migrant workers from the state of Odisha. The 8 injured workers are undergoing treatment at GBR Hospital in Narasaraopet. Among them, 1 is critically injured. Each of the deceased workers' families will receive Rs 14 lakh as compensation, which will be provided by the quarry management. The government has also assured that all medical expenses of the injured workers will be borne in full until their complete recovery.
A team from Odisha's Ganjam district has also been dispatched to Bapatla, Balikurava area to bring back the bodies of migrant workers. The bodies of the deceased workers would be handed over to the Odisha team after post-mortem.
Now, a devastating incident has unfolded off the Yemen's coast. According to United Nations Migration Agency, at least 76 African migrants are dead, while several still missing after their boat capsized. Authorities say that the vessel, which carried 154 Ethiopian migrants, sank early Sunday off Yemen's southern Abyan province. Head of the International Organization for Migration in Yemen even told media that 54 bodies were recovered along the district's shore, while 14 more were taken to a hospital morgue in the provincial capital. Tragically, just 12 survivors have been found for now. Despite more than a decade of civil war, Yemen remains a major transit route for migrants from East Africa and the Horn of Africa, many of whom entrust their lives to smugglers and overcrowded boats on their desperate quest for work in the Gulf region. Shipwrecks in these treacherous waters are sadly quite common. The International Organization for Migration notes that hundreds of migrants have drowned or disappeared near Yemen in recent months, which includes a major incident in March when 2 migrants died and 186 others were reported missing after 4 boats sank off Yemen and Djibouti.
A boat carrying Ethiopian migrants capsized Sunday off Yemen's southern coast, killing at least 68 people and leaving 74 missing, the United Nations Migration Agency said on Sunday. The vessel, with 154 on board, sank in the Gulf of Aden near Abyan province. Only 12 survivors were found, according to the head of the International Organization for Migration in Yemen. Rescue teams recovered 54 bodies from the shore near Khanfar, while 14 others were taken to a morgue in Zinjibar, the provincial capital. Authorities launched a large-scale search operation amid reports of bodies scattered along the coast. Despite Yemen's ongoing civil war, the country remains a major transit point for African migrants heading to the Gulf in search of work. Many rely on smugglers and overcrowded boats to make the perilous journey. The UN says hundreds have died or gone missing in similar shipwrecks this year. In March, 4 boats sank off Yemen and Djibouti, leaving 2 dead and 186 missing. An estimated 60,000 migrants arrived in Yemen in 2024, down from over 97,000 the year before, likely due to increased coastal patrols.
Welcome back. When President Donald Trump signed his so-called big, beautiful bill into law, he gave ICE billions of dollars to crack down on immigration.
And part of the plan, hire more agents, including men and women working in local sheriff's offices and police departments. So is that happening here? Local 10's Byron Tollefson is live outside the Miramar ICE facility with what he's uncovered. Byron, fill us in.
While ICE is poised for a major expansion here in South Florida and across the country, I've obtained this letter here that ICE has sent to former federal officers here in South Florida and also, quite possibly, area officers and deputies. When the president signed his big, beautiful bill, suddenly ICE had $75 billion in new funding. Now the Immigration and Customs Agency is rapidly trying to hire 10,000 more agents. Local 10 obtained this letter showing ICE is turning to former federal officers in South Florida, pitching them on joining their mission. The letter, calling it an urgent call to join, touts an incentive of up to $50,000 for those who sign up. On top of that, there are reports that ICE's deputy director has also emailed sheriff's deputies and police officers in Florida and nationwide, looking to hire them too. Governor Ron DeSantis, in a news conference this week, said that could be a problem in our state.
And I know some sheriffs have had concerns, that's happening. It's like, hey, we've been doing all this stuff to help you guys, and now you're trying to poach our people who are already in the fight. Why not recruit additional people to be supplementing that instead of just kind of displacing?
Polk and Pinellas County sheriffs, among those upset their deputies reportedly got the letter.
Now, if you're in a situation where those folks are being poached off of that mission, well, it's like, wait a minute, how is that?
Local 10 reached out to the Miami-Dade and Broward County sheriffs. Both said they're not aware of their deputies getting this letter. Fort Lauderdale police could not get me an answer right away. Miami police has not yet responded. If ICE is trying to recruit local officers and deputies, how would that affect sheriffs and police departments? Would that hurt them, at least in the short term? I'll continue to press ICE as well as local agencies for answers this coming week. We're live in
We're all suffering in this together, and we need to do the right thing. We need to make things right for everybody.
When they took him, he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops, so he was freezing. Also, there are no beds, no pillows, no blankets, no soap, no toothbrushes and toothpaste. And when you're in a room with people bathroom's open, there's no door. So it's very dehumanizing, it's very undignifying. He's Tunisian. He's been here for 10 years. He first came on a visiting visa and he did overstay, and that's what they're booking him for. However, he was already tried for overstaying, and his deportation order that existed back in 2020 was dismissed. And we fell in love, and I said, we've got to get you legal, because I'm an American citizen and I follow the laws, and I've lived here my whole life. This is my country. He's been here for 10 years. He's a singer, a professional singer. He sings classical Arabic music. He's one of the nicest people ever. He helps a lot of people out.
Thousands of Jair Bolsonaro supporters protested across Brazil in solidarity with US President Donald Trump's tariff campaign against Brazil's trial of the former president. Now, rallies were organized in several cities, including Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Dressed in green and yellow shirts, the national colors of Brazil and Bolsonaro's party, the demonstrators were seen holding US flags and placards that said, "Thank you, Trump."
I hope that the President Trump continues with his sanctions against the political system that is happening here in Brazil.
Well, during the rally, the protesters called for the impeachment of President Lula da Silva and Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who is presiding over Bolsonaro's coup trial. They also demanded amnesty for those involved in the alleged coup attempt days after Lula da Silva's inauguration in January 2023. Meanwhile, the Brazilian president said that his government is willing to negotiate with the United States. He also warned that Brazil doesn't want a fight, but at the same time is not afraid.
So anyone who wants to talk to us should know that we don't want to fight, but don't think we're afraid.
Well, there has been an escalation of tensions in the relationship between Brazil and the United States. Earlier in the week, the US announced sanctions against Justice Moraes for alleged suspension of freedom of expression, and Trump signed an executive order imposing a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods, while calling the trial against Bolsonaro a political witch hunt.
الجوع في غزة وصل لدرجة حضيض. الشعب الفلسطيني يعاني من الجوع حتى الموت. الشعب الفلسطيني هو مجوع. الشعب في غزة مجوع من قبل الصهاينة ومن قبل الدول العربية.
يلزم احنا البلدان العربية تعمل أكثر، لازم توصل لهم أكثر. المظاهرة صحيح، ما يلزمناش نسكت. عمرنا ما يلزمنا نسكت. الصمت عمره ما نفع في حتى شيء. يلزمنا نوصل الصوت، حتى كان ما قدرناش بالفلوس ولا بحاجة أخرى، صوتنا يلزموا ياخذوا.
"80 years on from the detonation of the first atomic bomb over Hiroshima, echoes of the devastation are still being uncovered. Researchers are still searching for the remains of many of the dead and injured who were brought to the coastal island of Ninoshima in the aftermath of the blast.
10年経ってもやはり同じ人類としてですね、そういったことはまずは地上に出してあげて、そしてそこから人間らしく、埋葬、まだこれ単に土に埋めただけですから埋葬とは言えないんですよ。ちゃんと骨壺に入れて、どこかへお納めすると、そしてみんなで手を合わせてお祈りするということをしない限りは、この方たちはまだ戦争が終わってないと思います。
The reburial also serves another purpose, offering solace to those who survived the blast by laying those who didn't to rest.
国語の蓋を開けるとね、今まで遠くに見えていた山々がすぐに近くに見えるほど広島の町は全滅していて、先生と一緒にいろいろ資料を探してみたら、 どうでも似島へ運ばれてたんじゃないかっていうふうなことがだんだん分かってきて。
The US atomic attack on Hiroshima instantly destroyed the city and killed tens of thousands near the hypercenter, about 10 kilometers north of Ninoshima. The death toll by the end of that year was 140,000. The remains of 3,000 people have been found on Ninoshima, but it's thought that thousands more are still missing.
似島行った時は似島でここでお参りする、ここにいるかもしれんと思って。
Disturbing videos showing Israeli hostages held in Gaza have been released, prompting widespread outrage and renewed calls for an immediate ceasefire and hostage release agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has expressed shock at the conditions depicted in the footage showing hostages in captivity. The video released by the Islamic Jihad group shows 22-year-old Rom Breslavsky, an Israeli-German national, speaking directly to the camera in tears, visibly emaciated and physically weak. Breslavsky says he has been a prisoner in Gaza for 2 years, held by the Al-Quds brigades, adding he is on the verge of death. Another shows Eviatar David in a Gaza tunnel, saying he was not eating for days and he's digging his own grave. UN Security Council will now hold an emergency session on the hostages in Gaza. Now, Netanyahu drew parallels between Hamas and the Nazis and said that he is now filled with an even stronger determination to free the hostages. He requested the help of the International Committee of the Red Cross to aid hostages in Gaza.
They are starving them like the Nazis starved the Jews. And when I see these videos, I understand exactly what Hamas wants. They do not want a deal. They want to break us using these horror videos. And through the false horror propaganda it is spreading around the world. But we will not break. I am filled with an even stronger determination to free our hostages, to eliminate Hamas, to ensure that Gaza no longer poses a threat to the state of Israel.
The European Union, France and Germany condemned the videos of the hostages and insisted the Palestinian group must have no role in the territory's future. French President Emmanuel Macron called these videos as evidence of Hamas's inhumanity without bounds and abject cruelty. Then in response, Hamas said that hostages are being given the same food as Gaza's population, adding that they will not receive any special privileges. The group said it would only allow the Red Cross to provide aid if humanitarian corridors into Gaza are opened. On Sunday, 7 military aircraft from Jordan, France, Germany, Belgium and the UAE conducted coordinated airdrops over Gaza, delivering more than 60 tons of humanitarian aid.
This operation is a collaboration between France and Jordan and other many countries, and Jordan is in charge of the delivery of food and supplies that we are delivering to Gaza. So France don't really know, because when it arrives already conditioned and ready to deliver. So we don't have the exact definition of what is in there. French people and French military people are actually making sure that the loads are correctly set up for the drop, but we don't have the exact content. It's just the weight and the basic value of this.
Well, despite the deliveries, many in Gaza, and especially households lacking a strong adult male, say that they are struggling to receive food and are starving.
We never get our fair share of the aid. My husband is paralyzed, and there are widows and women like me who can't secure food for their children. Some young men take the aid and sell it at high prices. I am helpless and cannot afford to buy it.
A United Nations video shows the aftermath of one food distribution attempt. There are 7 bodies loaded onto a donkey cart after reportedly being shot while trying to reach aid. In the past 24 hours, 6 more people, including children, died of starvation or malnutrition, according to the UN, bringing the war's total hunger-related death toll to 175.
Well, speaking to WION Sidhan Sibal, Daniel Sheikh, head of Diplomacy, Hostages and Missing Families Forum in Tel Aviv, hoped that the war comes to an end, pointing how the forum has been providing support to families of hostages, including those indulging in advocacy. He also spoke on other things like Israeli government stance on the Gaza war.
Next, when it comes to this ongoing war, what's your view when it comes to the war which is happening, when it comes to Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza, that has other repercussions as well?
I believe that at this point, 667 days after October 7, 2023, and with 50 hostages remaining, 20 of whom at least are alive but in horrendous condition, as some Hamas videos released in the last 48 hours show, it's time to end the war. I think military action has done what it can do, and that it's time to end the war and release all the hostages through an agreement.
But are you hopeful that loved ones will come back soon? What's your sense like when it comes to these hostages, and what are the measures you are taking globally as well? I believe some delegations have traveled to various global capitals.
We have a network of contacts with every country and leadership and government that has any kind of bearing on the situation, and we take the term to leave no stone unturned very literally. We will go anywhere if we think that it can help. It can be the Tour de France or the Olympics where we show the posters, and it can be the summit of the G7 where we will literally go and speak to world leaders who have influence. That is our mission here. Am I hopeful? I don't know. I think at this stage the lives of these people hang on a thread. It's touch and go. Having a sign of life yesterday doesn't mean that tomorrow that person will still be alive. So I certainly am convinced that the urgency of releasing the hostages should be the #1 priority for the Israeli government.
When it comes to that is not the case, when it comes to the release, when it comes to the government and your perception, what do you mean by that?
I believe that the current Israeli government does not want to end the war at this stage, and you can't release the hostages without ending the war. So that's our main message now. End the war, release all the hostages.